Yes, this is last day of October, one of the greatest months of all time. My birthday was last week, last Friday. So I had a great time. Shout out to my wife, Joy, for giving me the opportunity to have such a great time. And love you. All right. So today is October. We got a very special guest today. What we're going to be talking about is a very interesting subject. So we got Ray. So our guest today is Ray Tucker. So he's the founder of I'm assuming that's Northeast Ohio Infinity, a platform that bridges art, mental health, community healing. Wait, you know, currently you wearing a hat. If you watching this on Facebook, you know, currently you wearing a hat. You wear many hats. You were able to do all of the things that you needed to do, that you wanted to do in the community of Cleveland and from Cleveland, as well as be a primary caregiver for your mom. So I am excited to have this conversation. You got to come up to the mic and talk in the mic. You can pull it towards you. There you go. What's going on, Ray?
Oh, nothing much. You know what I'm saying? Just hanging out with you, Eric.
Man, oh man. So I didn't gave all the superlatives. I didn't gave everything that you needed, man. And I really appreciate you coming through, having this discussion with me, because this idea of caregiving. Because we have an ailing society, and in most cases, it's not men, it's not the son giving the care, and a lot of times it's the daughters giving the care.
Yes.
And what I enjoyed about you is that you were able to, or you know, when you and I met, you took mom. You came to the office with mom,
Yeah.
right? You came to when we met up at the Unbar. Get you a good drink out there at Unbar. And when we was at the Unbar, you brought mom. So when you first of all, I want to thank you for just coming out and just enjoying your time with me. So to kick everything off, what is one thing people might not or might be surprised to learn about you?
To know about me, something that you know about me.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm a counselor.
Yes.
I'm a licensed professional counselor.
Yes.
I've been doing it for 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as it relates to caregiving,
Yeah.
is that I gave up all my accolades and
Mm-hmm.
every other thing.
Mm-hmm.
I stopped working completely.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? To focus on caring for
Yeah.
my mother.
Yeah.
And as and I'm doing that with the aid of a wonderful caretaker that I
Right.
just came into. But I think that the most surprising or most, I guess, shocking point is just giving up everything,
Yeah.
stopping what you're doing. And so what it brings to mind are always related to childcare in a way where you have maternity leave,
Yeah.
or paternity leave, so
Yeah.
that you can take care of your family responsibilities. Now, you can take FMLA if
Right.
you're a working person, but then, hey, you're just out there, trying to take care, but you may not get paid in that situation. So,
The idea of caregiving, one, you're already in the mental health field.
yes.
So, and we know that caregiving is one of the most stressful, disciplines.
Yeah.
Whether you are a caregiver of a young child or you're a caregiver of, someone who is ailing. Now, the difference is, how did you deal with mom and what comes with elderliness, right? We're talking about less mobility.
Yes.
We're talking about less, sometimes, a behavioral issue, right? Not
Yeah.
saying that mom had it, but and then we're dealing with memory. So all the things that attack individuals as they're ailing. How were you able to deal with that moving forward? Or what are some of the challenges you had in being a caregiver with mom? And then we'll talk about how you dealt with them.
Yeah, the first one that comes to mind is there's a grief
Mm-hmm.
that comes along with it, because as anybody ages, they change.
Yeah.
They're not the same person that they were before. And so again, I'll do the analogy of a child. You're raising a child. They're a little child. They love cereal, and then they grow up and they want to watch TV. They're not the same person anymore.
Right,
The
right.
influences. So it's the same thing with my mother because, of course, she was my primary caregiver at one point in time. So she's the person that's taking care of
Right.
me. And
Right.
so then it switches, and you have to mourn the fact that that individual may not have the same
Yeah.
capacity to care for you
Yeah.
in the same way or be as aware of you, you know what I'm saying, as you are of what their needs
Yeah.
is. And so it's to accept that they are who they are now
Yeah.
and maybe not who you
Who they
remember
were.
them to be, because I see people who know my mother and they speak to her as she was at one point in time. And, you know, I let everybody have their own learning experience, and
Yeah.
some people are just like, do you remember this? Do you remember that? And because she does have dementia or some memory loss, you know, she doesn't remember a lot of things, and people are constantly asking her. And
Yeah.
so it's kind of hard for me to watch her struggle than watch other people struggle
With her.
who she is now. And so the biggest change is just accepting the relationship and accepting the person as they are now.
As of right now.
Yeah, she's still my mother. She's a different mother.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But she's still my mother.
Yeah, yeah,
and our
yeah.
relationship has changed, but
Right.
the love in between us
Right.
hasn't changed. And
Yeah, because the idea that so change is inevitable. So when you're looking at it from a child point of view, you're looking at potential. When you're looking at it from an elder side, you're looking at possibly not necessarily deterioration, but the opposite of potential that I can't think of right now. So
it's the Benjamin Button.
yes, the Benjamin Button.
Yeah, she's going backwards.
Yeah.
And so she, I know you've heard, we were talking
Yeah.
about country sayings.
Yes.
At one point in times, it's, is it twice a child, once a man?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that is so much very true. So as she goes back to needing care, she needs care now. The caretaker goes to needing care. And I want to say that there's a pride in that. And with her pride, there's anger, because she realizes that she cannot do what she used to do before.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, you know, I
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
remember
yeah,
these
yeah.
things.
Yeah.
I wish that I could drive. I wish that I just want to leave.
That
sometimes,
frustration.
because she remembers, she has a recollection of what she was able to do. So her
Who she
pride-
was beforehand.
and it causes
Yeah.
anger for her. And so, you know, being a primary caregiver in any relationship, if you're the closest person to a person, you are due to get the best and the worst of them.
Yeah, yeah,
So-
yeah. The last thing, or the one thing that you didn't add, what is your self-care like once you know your self-care regimen in dealing with all the responsibility and the emotional change? There's a difference between giving caregiving to someone else, which you are as a mental health provider, but giving caregiver who raised you, that's a whole different type of boundaries or self-care regimen for, you know, for taking care of mom, or when it becomes too much. What are some things that you do to help yourself, you know, decompress, so to speak?
Well, you know, one of the things that I've been doing lately with my lady is hitting the gym.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We go to the gym in the evening, we'll walk, we'll talk, and having her as a confidant is great for me, you know. And I really think just exploring how the same things you used to do.
Yeah.
You know, because I used to work for a college at one point in time. Shout out to them. I won't give them a shout out unless they pay
Right.
me.
No dividends. No
No,
dividends.
they gonna have to pay
No,
me
I
for that.
got you. I got you.
But one of the things I used to tell the students is whatever you used to do before, you need to do now.
Yeah.
You know, so I love art. I love music, you know what I'm saying? So to continue to write music. So what came out of this transition period, probably made and wrote like 400 to 350 songs over the past couple years as I made this transition. So
Right.
that's an outlet for
Right.
music, exercise, connecting with friends and having conversations
Right.
not about
Right,
you
right,
know,
right.
because sometimes, like, even, you know, as you have children, everybody's worried about your kids.
Yeah.
How's the kids doing? How's mom doing? Nobody says, well,
How are you doing?
Because
Right.
they know that's probably a longer, complicated answer that they maybe don't want to get into.
Because it gets sticky.
Yeah.
It does. So what let's switch it a bit, because I want to talk a little bit more about that after our first break.
Okay.
I do want to know. I mean, I got to know this. You started in more or less the corporate world, right, or the organized world. What has been the biggest change that you've noticed, that you see the world since you've decided to go away from the corporate world into, what you're doing right now? Because eventually you're going back into mental health. And what is the biggest change that you've noticed coming back into this working field in this way?
I think even coming out of it, there's a stripping down. Anything that can be given to you can be taken away from you.
Yeah.
If you have a title of president or
Right.
something else, what I'm saying? Once you don't occupy that role anymore, you do not have the accolades, you
Right,
do not
right,
have the
right,
support,
right.
you do not have the prestige that goes along with it. And there's, I want to say, a pruning of the ego. That happens. Like, who am I
Yeah.
if I don't have these,
you don't have these
things to
things.
define me?
Right,
You know what I'm
right.
saying? And so that was a big thing of getting my ego pruned.
Yeah.
Because I was pretty much at the top of my field doing what I was doing. But then all of a sudden, I'm at home cooking eggs, waking up, giving medication or
Yeah.
vitamins because we got her off all the medication. Side
Yeah.
note, but it's the pruning of the ego.
So a lot of times when we're looking at the ego, it's connected to your insecurities, right? So we have insecurities, and the way that I look at it, insecurities are unmet emotional needs as a child. And so as we grow up, we hide those things. And then once we hide those things, they become our ego. When you decided to transition away from the corporate world, when you say pruning the ego, what are some things that you remember that is definitely still connected to an insecurity that you had to prune or let go?
Well, I think it's because I used to work with college students, and to receive praise, love, genuine affection
Right.
for the service that you're providing,
Yeah.
in that sense. And maybe like you said, I want to say that I'm not your typical person.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I get the typical attention that people get. So to be in a situation, where you're valued very much, and then go into a situation where the person who you're primarily caring for may want you there, or may not want you there. Because when I first got there, my mom was like, she did not. She was like, why are you here? I was like, because if I'm not here, you're going to end up in a mental health hospital. You're going to end up someplace that you don't want to be. So I wasn't getting the affection, the attention, the feedback. I didn't feel valued in the same way that I felt in the job that I had before, because that was 100% constant, because the students were always there.
The other part is our family or our families of origin can contribute to both our insecurities, which are really who we're shining our egos for. So when you came back and a lot of that, you got sounds like you got the opposite. How much of the past life that you had with your different mother or your original mother affect how you showed up for mom when you came back, and a lot of that ego had to go?
I think there were stages that I had to go through, you know what I'm saying? And especially in me and my mom's relationship, you know what I'm saying? We've always had an amicable relationship, but, I don't know how would I put it? It was good, but like you said, I think anybody can find something lacking.
Yeah.
And there were some parts in it, where I felt like maybe she didn't even like me some days, and I'd be like, oh, you like the other kids, but what about me? And
Exactly.
so then I'm coming back and I'm taking care of my mom, who showed a lot of affection and attention to all of us, but maybe showed special attention to some of my siblings in a way. And I'd be like, okay, now the folks who you've given to aren't here.
Right. I'm it.
And I'm here because I see the actual need that's happening, and I cannot ignore what I'm seeing.
The idea that you are meant, so a lot of times people that work in behavioral health, also in medicine as well, they have a bit of on one side, they have a bit of a help because they can rationalize, intellectualize, and understand based off of training on what someone is going through, right? But on the other end, that can be a problem for both the individual, right, the person that's doing the caring, as well as the person that is the actual you're caring for. When you are working with your mom, how much of your training did you have to suspend in order to do the thing, which is be a son, not a mental health provider to your mom?
All of it. all of it. Because I'll give you an example. Because I have two sons, and when they were growing up, sometimes they wouldn't want to talk to me because they'd be like, "You're a psychologist. I don't want to talk to you." And I'd be like, "Son, my superpowers don't work at home.
Right.
They don't at all. I'm just your dad." And so it's the same thing with my mom. How much of my training did I use? I would say none. I had to start to understand the situation as it is.
As it evolves.
It's like I don't have any special techniques. I don't have any I know what to do in this situation. You know what I'm saying? So I just had to alter it. And one of the things I had to learn how to do, and forgive me if anybody takes this the wrong way, I said, you can't argue with a crazy person.
Right.
So while my mom may not be in her rational mind, I would be in my real emotions about some things like, Mom, I'm trying to do this thing and you're fighting with me. And then I would escalate and she would escalate, and then I had to
bring it down.
I'd be like, well, you know what? I can't do that because that's not going to get us anywhere. And I just learned to pause, stop, go away. And because of her condition, I could come back in a half an hour and have a whole nother person.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. On the other side, we're going to jump into a little bit more about that and all the rest of your diversities. I mean, man, you're in music, you're in art, you're a mental health provider, you write songs, you do all this stuff, caregiver. Yeah. So just like anything else, you are a jack of many trades. And so we're going to jump into that. So we're going to take a quick break. This is Unapologetic with Eric King on WOVU 95.9 FM. Welcome back. This is Unapologetic with Eric King. We got our special guest, brother Ray Tucker. What's going on? Come back up to the mic, man.
Hey, I'm back.
What's up? All right. So on the other side, you gave us a pretty good breakdown of some of the things that you work on and things that you are doing. But like I said, you are doing so many things, right? So I know that we talked a little bit about your, the caregiving, but caregiving can be like, a reward and a challenge. Yeah. So what I want you to do, I want you to go back to when you were talking about that challenge of the different person, right?
Yeah.
And although we're talking about mom, this is literally about you, right? Some of the things that you saw, that you dealt with in that first 6 months of letting go and coming back, and you talked about that trimming. What is that thing that you remember that you had to tell yourself each day, and giving up, that part of who you were, because it came with a title, came with money. It also provided you the opportunity to pour into other people.
Yes.
What was that like, that first 6 months? And what did you tell yourself in order to make it the next 6 months?
My actual response in my head, it was shock. Everything kind of stopped. I was in motion doing everything that needed to be done, but I don't really remember feeling myself maybe as fully and wholly. Yeah, because everything was stripped.
We're talking numbness, or what we're talking? Maybe, emotional numbness?
Yeah, just like,
no, I got you.
Do what you got to do. Do what needs to be done. It's not about you anymore. It's got nothing to do with you. You just need to do these things that you need to do. So in that time, just trying to figure out what needs to be done. I mean, healthcare appointments and other things that needed to be taken care of for mama. Actually redoing the house some,
I was going to say that because you had to get it elderly appropriate.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Just had to clean up, because then one of the things with her dementia is that her ability to organize and other things. So there was a lot of hoarding that was going on. So eventually I had 2 dumpsters come to the house to just try to clear out all the stuff to, 1, make room for my stuff, but 2, make it livable
right.
in a way. So I was really just focused on the work that needed to be done to make the home livable and to make it a space that we could be inside of. And so I just was kind of, like I said, a little bit not there shocked.
No, I got you. Did you ever ask yourself, how did we get here while you were cleaning that up? Or Mom, how did you get here while you were cleaning that up?
You know what? I saw it. I saw it with my own eyes. I saw it happening, but in the capacity that I was in, I could come and I could visit and I could go and I could be like, Mom, you need to clean up, or Mom, you need to stop drinking all that pop, and I could go back and do what I was doing. And
Disconnect.
Sort of out of sight, out of mind, but
Yeah.
a little bit of worry, because this process has been happening over a decade.
Right, because it's not something that happens initially. So so if we go 15 years from the moment that you moved in, this has been going on for 15 years.
It's been going on for at least 10 years, because the first thing I noticed was her writing bad checks. Mm-hmm. Her bills were stacking up. I was like, why is your bill so much? And I pulled one of the bills out and looked at the check that she had wrote, and she had put the address to the biller, but not the bill, saying, not the payee on there. I was like, what are you doing? And I looked and all the checks were messed up. And I was like, you're not paying your bills because they're not going through.
Right.
And so eventually I took over the bills, then I took over the shopping, and then she couldn't drive, you know what I'm saying? And so eventually the need just kept increasing.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to honor, because my mother used to work in the healthcare system,
Right.
and she's worked as a nurse and an aide for individuals. She just didn't want to be in that system. And I completely get her, so I'm trying to honor her. And so part of the struggle is, again, you're trying to honor somebody's wishes.
How do we do that? How do we honor someone's wishes and still not provide them with what we think they need?
To give them what they want, and not what we want to give them.
Yeah. Because what our point of view is, you need this, but that's us. So how did you do that? You give your mom what she wanted, right? Honored her for what she wanted without attempting to give her what you need, what you think she needs.
When you say that, I just flipped it.
Yeah.
When I didn't know myself, when I didn't know what the world was, who I was, what I was, or where I was, didn't know what a bill was or anything else. I was a child in this world. It's a turnabout.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So now it's my turn because she's in that state. And it's one little thing I want to put out there. A lot of people say, oh, caregiving is hard. Yeah, it's hard in a selfish ass world. Yeah. If you're a selfish ass, yes, it is hard. Any relationship is going to try you, or you're not in a relationship.
Yeah.
If it don't try you, you ain't in a relationship.
You ain't in it. You're on the outside looking in.
So it's the natural thing. Because I've been exposed to people from many different cultures, and in those cultures, they're multi-generational.
Yeah.
So if you do have an elderly person that's in decline, they're usually taking care of the youngest, what I'm saying? Because they're sort of in the same mental state. Like my mother, when she's around my grandkids, they are
same mental state,
simpatico.
different package. That's all it is, right?
They are
place.
simpatico, but since our culture divides everything and separates everything, you know what I'm saying? You got old folks over here, you got young folks over here, you got middle-aged people in the middle trying to live their lives, and we don't live it. And so me taking care of my mother is probably the most natural thing that should happen, but we don't expect it. I wasn't thinking about it.
The idea, the thing that you said was what was interesting is, if I on the other side of the break, the question of how did I get here? Did you even like me? Right. So you had siblings.
Yeah.
How did
I have?
Right.
they didn't go anywhere. But
right. You have. I'm sorry. How did you end up as the person? Like, how many siblings do you have?
5.
Okay.
And
where are they at right now?
And to your point earlier, I have a sister who has an autoimmune disorder right now, where she literally can't leave the house. You know what I'm saying? In that way, and that's been affecting her. Now, she was listed in my mother's wishes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got you.
As the primary caregiver, and I was the secondary.
Right.
Once my sister was not able to take over that role anymore, you know what I'm saying? I was the person. My mother knew the children to pick to do the thing. You know what I'm saying? Who she trusted. So I ended up inheriting that position, from my sister, because she couldn't fulfill those duties. So that's just the way it is. So you were right in your perception that it usually is a female.
It is. It's
in
usually
the family or daughter.
Yeah,
who ends up
usually
taking
the daughter.
that care. So I am like I said, atypical because I was next in line.
Yeah.
To do so. And where are they?
So you got 3 other ones though.
They're somewhere around here.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I
Okay.
have 2 which are probably in the city of Cleveland somewhere, and I have another one who's out of town, North Carolina, another one out in Idaho.
Gotcha.
You know, they decided that they wanted to be other places, and I guess even that is an adjustment too.
Yeah.
You know, and I've just come to a place where it's like I was speaking about it recently. There's chapters in life. You know, so there's chapters in a family. So I was telling you that we were raised right across the street, you know what I'm saying? Garden Valley, you know what I'm saying? When it was row houses, you know, that's where we was, and then we've been up on Buckeye. Those times were a chapter in my family.
Okay.
We were family. We lived in a certain way. And
It's
so,
like a CD.
yeah,
Right.
And when you flip the page, the story develops, it changes, and the characters develop in different ways. You know what I'm saying? Maybe expected or unexpected, and they choose to take the paths. And so if I look at where I am now as if I wanted to be a continuation of the story that was, it will continue to put me into some angst. I'd be like, no, the story is like this now.
Because you got to look in the here and now.
Yeah, the story.
The 24. When you let's bounce this over because there's a level of resilience that goes along with this, and I'm assuming, and you can help me with this. I'm assuming your work and your music and your art or your concept of art contribute to your resiliency, to your self-care.
Yes.
When you think about, the organization, you created an organization. It's called the Neo Infinity.
Like new forever is
Right.
New forever,
Tell me how that came about.
It was just, I was joking earlier. I was like, we got the lanes that we're given to certain people. Either you're gonna be an athlete or you're gonna be an entertainer. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I fell into one of those little things. It's like, hey, I love music. You know what I'm saying? I love performing. I have friends. You know what I'm saying? Who have had success, who still have labels, and they still make music too.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to start my own record label. So as business.
Yeah.
What's the music business? Because anybody can write a song.
Right.
But not everybody can go into business. And so I decided to pursue that part of it, you know what I'm saying, with the, starting an actual company and an actual business, which failed.
Right.
When I first did it, it was boom. I didn't know what I was doing whatsoever. But then actually when I came back to take care of my mother, you know what I'm saying, I reestablished the LLC,
Gotcha.
you know what I'm saying, at that point started back up, not knowing what it would be.
Yeah.
At that point, and to the point of resilience in music, I think it's having a voice. Even if I'm the only one that hears my voice.
Yeah, I was going to say that because a lot of times it's really you that you're talking to, right? You're writing songs. You're attempting to uplift you. You're utilizing the things that people, the things that are happening on the board to talk to you. What inspired you to link mental health and the music together, or mental health and the organization together?
So much like anyone else, I found myself being affected by the music in a way where, I'm talking gangster, I'm talking, know what I'm saying, drugs, girls, and other things. I'm like, oh my God, I'm affected like everybody else. I am doing what the industry is telling me I have to say, but it's not the wholeness of my experience that I'm having, and that needs to be broadcasted in a way. There's more experiences that we have because we always talk about, as a people not being a monolith. But when everything we see is monolithic, you know what I'm saying? And actually, unfortunately, like some TV shows that we see, man, they are the very essence or the explosion of these stereotypes.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so then that's not good for our mental health.
Not at all.
If you don't give room for people to grow or give them greater options to be, or show them greater options to be, and if you leave it to individuals who control those medias to show us every image of ourselves, then we are sorely lacking.
We in trouble.
I fell victim to that. So I just I want to have something where people can express who they are and what they are right now, you know what I'm saying? And so that's how the mental health came into it, and also, like you said, it's a resilience. It's being able to hear your voice and be like, what I'm saying is true. Yeah. It may not be the popular thing to dance to.
I was going to say that part because that's the thing. There's a difference between making a hit, right, and making something for the masses and making something to tell your story.
Yeah.
On your website, you have a blog post talking about depression,
Yes.
right? Your depression. Can you talk a little bit about your battle with depression and how it influenced your mission for your business?
Yeah, I had to make some blog posts, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And it was just where I was at the time, because I was still in that transition
Yeah.
of moving away
Right.
from being in a corporate administrative position, you know what I'm saying, with all those accolades to, once again, ending up on Buckeye, So I think it's one of those things, it's like everybody, oh God, just this caveat I want to put.
Yeah.
So Orban's Flower Shop, I had a boss that works there. He's still there, Mr. Eddie Roble. And I
Shout
went
out
back
to Eddie.
Eddie Roble's Orban Flower Shop. Shout out to them.
Shout out.
And I went over to talk to him, and I was like, I'm back in the neighborhood again. I said, what do you think is going on in the neighborhood? I said, what's the problem? He said, you're the problem. I said, what do you mean I'm the problem? Yeah, I ain't doing nothing out here. He said, people like you go off, get educated, get successful, and they leave the neighborhood. And I said, oh.
So let's piggyback on that,
Yeah.
right? So the neighborhood or Northeast Ohio is very important to you.
Yeah.
And it's something that means a lot to you. How does your organization play a role in that and uplifting the community in both the mental health field as well as the artist, field or artist collaboration?
So my organization right now is an idea.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? It is me at this point in time. I'm putting that idea out to other people. I wanted to be that. I wanted to be an artist collaboration. And when I say art, I think art encompasses anything that you
All
do
of it.
again and again
Yeah.
that you want to be better at. You know what I'm saying?
We talking dance, we
there's
talking drumming,
culinary
we talking
art, there's
culinary, cooking,
agricultural
right.
art, there's technological art, there's
Right.
everything. Anything you do again and again, searching for a greater proficiency or understanding is art to me.
Yeah.
How can I collaborate with digital
Yeah.
creators? How can I collaborate with community creators? How can I collaborate with anyone to bring a voice or bring a collective to a place where people can showcase
So
and help each other?
we have not only in Northeast Ohio, but post-pandemic in the world, we have a very high rate of mental health struggles.
Yeah.
And having those high rates of mental health struggles, each individual is literally attempting to find their thing to help them survive. When you think about your organization and you think about what you're doing, what type of things specifically do you want to use your organization to tackle? Are we talking, mental health and homelessness? We talking about mental health and schooling? Like, what is the thing that you want your organization to tackle?
Yeah. So can I set that question right
Oh,
over here
sure.
for a second?
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
want to
yeah.
get back to the depression part.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Because you asked me a
Yeah.
question about my own depression,
Yeah.
and being a clinician is something
Yeah.
that people usually won't say. I'm
be honest with you.
And
I figured you didn't say anything. I was like, all right, let me help him out a little bit. Go to something else. But I appreciate you coming back.
Oh,
Go for
no,
it, and being brave enough to come back.
come back to it.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? Depression happens to. If you live long enough, you
Yeah.
will be depressed. I don't know nobody who hasn't been down or feel like they're out of place or don't know the next step to take or feel stagnated or
Yeah.
frustrated, you know what I'm saying? And with everything that was stripped away from me, yeah, I was depressed and I was trying to handle my own emotions in terms of anger or
Right.
maybe not having the support that I felt like I
Right.
wanted. And so as I'm struggling with these things, you know what I'm saying? It's an outward blame, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes people blame themselves inward. It's me, I'm not good enough or I did whatever. And then there's outward blame. I had an outward blame.
Yeah.
But my cure was to take responsibility.
Yeah.
I chose to be here with my mother. I chose this path. I chose to release my job. I chose to pack my things up. And since I made all those decisions, I cannot blame anybody else who did not make those decisions. Was my resolve. And as
Gotcha.
I continue in that thought pattern that these are the choices that I made and that I need to make the best of them, I've come up out of feeling pushed down upon or maybe not having. And as
That malaise, that down.
and once I opened myself to being responsible, I think again, I'm sitting here with you.
Yeah.
And I think that's a part of the miracle,
Right.
you know what I'm saying, of releasing.
Growth and healing.
Yeah, releasing
Yeah.
the unspoken expectation that's being expressed in emotions that they really don't have words. But once I took responsibility for my life, I
No,
was
I
able
got
to move out of those things, you know what I'm saying, and be in a place where, again, I could give.
Yeah.
Now, the mission.
Yeah. The organization. Bring that back over. Bring that back. Bring that back.
Yeah, the mission of the organization, you know, a lot of me is saying that it will be what it's going to be. You know, I have an idea of a collective because I do want to help people express themselves, you know what I'm saying? Because even as a counselor, one of the phrases that I use always, like, we have to come to some terms.
You have to.
Yeah, you haven't come to some terms.
Right.
with what has
You
happened.
got to be some realizations, yo.
Yeah.
No, I get that. When you look at how you decided, you know, to structure everything, how much of what I guess art does to the body, right? Because now we're looking at the holistic side, right? We're looking at what we eat, what we ingest, and you talked about music, right? You talked about music and what it did. How much thought, when you put together your organization, you thought about some holistic healing aspects that are related to both music and mental health, like Reiki or spiritualists or anything like that?
You know,
Herbalists, anything like that?
the spoken part of it, you know what I'm saying, is really where I'm at. So it's an amalgamation of me.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
so it's an amalgamation of me. I love art, you know what I'm saying? I also love, like you said, being able to give and to be of help to individuals. Love language, you know what I'm saying? Service.
Yeah.
You know, I love being of service to individuals and making a difference in individuals' lives. And so you amalgamate those things. But and I say, I want to add something, and I gotta give a shout out to.
Oh, yeah.
I want to give a shout out to
Make
my
it
lady,
happen.
Sarah Continenza and Food
Yeah.
Strong. You know, so even being
She was one of our guests. So yeah, food. If you want to listen, go ahead and listen. I can't remember the date, but yeah, she talked about Food Strong. Go for it.
so having her in my life now, of course, I am more health conscious, you know what I'm saying,
Yeah.
about what I eat. And so it
Exactly.
adds to my art. It adds to
Exactly.
who I am. It adds to what I'm going to do next, you know what I'm saying, what I'm going to eat, and so then as you keep adding things to it, remember the phrase from Bruce Lee, what's his Jeet Kune Do?
I don't know what it means,
Well, the
but I got
essence
you.
of Jeet Kune Do is taking everything you know, not one particular art form or one particular form, and using it at the right moment. At the right moment. So the more tools that I have, I can use in certain places to help individuals. So the more I understand about agriculture, food, and its effect on the body, as I am now going to go back into mental health, I have a greater plethora of knowledge that I can add and aid my clientele with. And be like, hey, I know this now. I know that. I know this.
Because science has grown as it relates to a lot of what mental health connects to, right? The spiritualist side, the wellness side, all of that. When you're looking at making, even you've been in mental health for what, 30 years.
30 years.
You've been in mental health for a while. Talk about your noticing of your impact on mental health, and also what do you want to offer to mental health? At a 30-year stint, you've seen something, and I'm pretty sure you got some ideas of what you want to offer.
Yeah.
So first off, that first level is talk about some recognizable impact based off of you being a black male in mental health.
In mental health, first thing that comes to mind is that the black community tends to be accommodating. To just about everyone, you know what I'm saying, which the stigma or the stereotype is that we are not.
Right.
We tend to want to help everybody.
Everybody.
You know what I mean? You need my help, you close to me, you're next to me, let me help you out. And so that's part and parcel of the nature. I found the value outside Krypton. I had to leave Krypton.
Right.
So I had to leave Cleveland and go someplace else, you know what I'm saying, and work with individuals, like I said, from all around the world. I found that they had more value in finding out who I was beyond the stereotypes that they've been broadcasted to be like, oh, this person is articulate, intellectual, he's tentative, he's nothing like any of these things that we've ever seen, you know what I'm saying, at all.
Yeah.
And so just my person being available to individuals to combat the culture that's being promoted sometimes through media was of great value. But then to sit with me as a clinician is a whole different thing, because to be able to, again, put myself aside and leave enough space to see what it's like to be someone else and to have enough curiosity as to what's behind that door, what's behind that relationship, to really be with them and walk through their lives so that they don't feel like they're by themselves. That's a value that I think any clinician should have, regardless of any kind of identifier that they have.
So what I heard you say was it had more to be more about your presence than your practice of mental health. And I like that because presence, you know, at times has a greater impact. The practice comes second. You showing up, you being there, you being a divergent of what someone thinks is a benefit. Because
they see you in a certain way, and then they find out you're not that way, you know. And I just learned that you can dress a certain way and still be perceived. You know,
no matter what.
Like a lot of when I came back to Cleveland, you know, I was dressed in my baseball cap, my sweats, and my Timberlands. You know what I'm saying? I'm stomping around like nobody knows. You know, that I'm a counselor, psychologist. Nobody knows that. Nobody's going to look at me and think that. Be like, hey, that guy put people on the couch for 30 years. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to think that. But if I dress up in my suit and I put on my shoes and I clean all up, and they're going to look at me and be like, no, he's somebody. I don't know who he is, but he's somebody by the way he's dressed. You know, and that was part of the impression. But get to
hit that second part before we jump on our break, because that second part is what is missing and what do you want to bring?
What do I want to bring? I guess normalcy. It's so in this culture, so many times we find so many people using clinical terms. You know what I'm saying? One being narcissism. I mean, it's just overused. I'd be like, I hate to tell all y'all who may be listening.
I talk about that all the time. Be like, bruh, stop with the terminology, gaslighting, narcissism, all these borderline. You don't even know what you're talking about.
You have no clue.
But go ahead.
You know, so one is stop doing that. You know what I'm saying? Because I wouldn't disrespect the aerospace engineer by saying that some term and thinking that I know the capacity or what that actually means. And I really think just bringing a humanness to it, you'd be like, people, we all go through all of these things in some capacity, whether it's great or whether profound or whether it's small. So.
Okay, so we got to take a break. We're gonna come back and we're gonna land the ship, and you're gonna tell we're gonna tell some people who you are. We already told them that. Where they can connect with you, and also this great organization of yours. So we're gonna take a quick break. This is Unapologetic with Eric King on WOVU 95.9 FM. Welcome back, Unapologetic with Eric King. We about to land this ship. All right. They give us an hour.
Okay.
It's all good though. I really love. Shout out to Burton Bell Car and all the things that they do, man. They do some great stuff. All right, so let's land this ship. Let's get us going. And for the listeners out there, right, who might be feeling a little lost and a little unsure, what direction would you provide them so that they can start their own healing journey and find their, through arts, through community work, or through mental health, support?
I would just mirror what I said for myself, for anyone. I think that taking responsibility is taking control. And sometimes when we find ourselves hurt, it's hard to take responsibility, for some part of it. But I learned that if you don't have any ownership in the demise, you have no ownership of the healing.
Don't complain about it if you ain't. Is it right? Don't complain if you ain't helping. But
Yeah.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
So that's what I would say. I was like, find a place where you can take responsibility
Yeah.
in that issue or that problem and affect that part of it. You know what I'm saying? And then you see where the rest of the responsibility lies, and you may have to let that go. So that's where I
Yeah.
would start at for anybody on their healing journey. Take some responsibility.
That because first you got to look within self.
Yeah.
So anytime that we're doing this thing called journey or healing, I should say, there are times where we get to a certain point, within our life where we literally have to stop blaming other people.
Yes.
We have to stop blaming other people. We have to stop looking outward, because the journey is literally inward. When you're working with someone, how do you allow them to get to that inward position or looking of inward within their position?
Oh, well, I think everybody has maybe different paths, but I think it's the greatest example I have is be a great mirror.
Okay.
So that means you have to take yourself out of it. You know what I'm saying? If you want to be a helper or a healer, it's not about you. It's got nothing to do with you. They're going to stop by. You're going to hold them up the best mirror you can as to what you're seeing from them and see if it aligns with the goals that they may have for themselves, and seeing if they're putting any roadblocks in their own way is the best way to start to maybe are you reaching your goals? What do you actually want out of this? Is it actually realistic for the goal that you are aiming for? Because I've always said, if you're waiting for someone else to change for you to feel better, you may be waiting all your life for that to do so.
What is your most challenging, type of client, so to speak?
A client who's there for.
Wait. I would like to say we have never had one of those on the radio, and I'm not gonna edit that out when this is on YouTube. I'm gonna leave that in, but I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, you made me think of it. It's like, I think a client who comes to you, or a person who comes who's not ready to change, and they are like, I'm here because my probation officer sent me. I'm here because my mother sent me.
Mandated counseling.
I am here because
My wife told me to come.
Yeah, my wife told me.
My kid said something.
Yeah, I'm here, and they are steady, not taking any responsibility, and everything that you offer in terms of inroad, they turn away.
Yeah.
I'd be like, maybe you could think about, no.
What's your thoughts on mandated counseling?
What's my thoughts on mandated counseling? I've had good outcomes with mandated counseling because most people don't know what counseling really is if they have not been to it and participated or had a good counselor, which there are good and bad of everything. And sometimes people have had bad experiences, but mandated counseling can be great because it may not be about the thing that it's mandated about. I've had people.
It's never about the thing. Actually, it's never about, at least from what I've experienced. I don't know about you.
Yeah. So the one question is always, what brings you here? What brings you? Not why did why do you think you need to?
Not your probation officer, right? Because the idea of, well, I come in and let me know if you've had this experience. I come in because I want to get rid of my anger, and I tell them that you have to have a head injury in order for any of your emotions to go away. Yeah. So have you had this, what do you tell, someone, and I work primarily with men. Yeah. When you working with someone and they actively have found that or have been told that this emotion that is natural, they need to get rid of. How do you approach that?
I say the best, you cannot eliminate. Like I said, you cannot, it's like eliminating yourself.
Right.
You cannot eliminate a part of yourself. Best thing we can do is understand and react in another way to that same part. I'm still going to get angry.
Right.
I still have.
Because it's the behavior. It's the reaction to the anger. It's the afterwards.
Yeah, but what I'm not going to do is tear up my own stuff anymore.
Right.
What I'm not going to do is use disparaging words to try to explain to someone how I'm feeling, you know what I'm saying? What I'm not going to do. So I have the same emotions, but my response to it needs to be different. So you don't get rid of it. You learn how to use it in a different way, you know what I'm saying? Whether that be depression, anger, or anxiety, or other things, you know what I'm saying? I hate to say it in a way, but, I've told it there's no cure. there's a change in response and perspective. And first, then we have to dig up and find out where that response and perspective came from. And most likely it's in unintentional learning, that you've had. And we just need to find out where you get it. And then we can make a decision about what we want to supplant, you know what I'm saying? And then start the process of change, because you're going to fail.
Yeah. No, for real. No, because you have to be okay with failing, and you have to be okay with failing.
Yeah.
And you can fail at emotional management while understanding that you're supposed to fail at emotional management. You're not supposed to be destructive at failing at emotional management. Yeah. So when you're looking at your organization, right, the NEO Infinity, right? How can people listening, get involved with your organization? I know it's in the zygote state, right?
Yeah.
The young state.
Yeah, it's,
but that don't mean that a phone call, right, won't help you.
You can go to the website, Neo Infinity.
Right.
If you punch it in, you know what I'm saying? It's there, and the web address or the email address,
right?
The Neo Infinity,
right?
You can reach out to me via that, and there's other contact information on the website at the bottom. There's a phone number down there that's always there. You can leave a message. I'll get back with you. And any way you want to collaborate or talk. That's what I'm here for, because I don't know exactly what it's going to be. And I think I've found out even the more stricter our expectations are, the less we have a capacity to grow.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because the gift that you may be given is not the gift that you're asking for, but it's exactly what you need.
Right.
So I don't know what it's going to be.
Yeah.
Give me a call. But that's a place for the collaboration. But as I'm going into mental health, going back to counseling strictly, this is not a counseling session. That's about art and collaboration and community building.
Right.
The Neo Infinity is for that. And then separate of that is counseling, you know what I'm saying? Which I'm going to start a collaboration with Muco.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And working with them. So you'll be able to find me there as a clinician,
beginning in November.
Soon. And doing that, so those are two separate things, but I really want to build the community presence because for me, being given accolades, once I said, to go backwards from the organization that I used to work for, and then having it stripped away, I want my presence to be in the community. I want my value to come from my community members, you know what I'm saying, and the people who are around their families, because that can't be stripped away from you.
Right.
Somebody like, oh no, because in that organization you're disappearing 4 years in most organizations.
What if this is So what are we going to do with these 300 plus songs that you wrote in your emotional management or self-care management? What are we going to do with this?
I don't know. I really don't know, because as we are all inundated by what's happening in the music business right now, and it seems pretty damn sketchy. And it's like,
it's bad news out here.
Yeah. Is there anything I really want to be close to and involved
in
bad that
news
way?
Out here,
and I'm glad that I did meet some of these people, you know what I'm saying, when I had a chance. But what am I going to do with these songs?
Everybody want to be famous.
One, I'm going to continue to listen to them for my own encouragement. They're on SoundCloud under X-Ray 216. They're free for anybody to listen to at any point in time they want to listen to them. You know what I'm saying? Whether I'm going to put any of them and try to put any of them into any kind of rotation or radio station, I don't know. It depends on who I meet and who I come in contact with.
Yeah,
again, it's there. And I'm going to take a quote from Ed Hardy, who is an artist, was big, in his designs. He said, an artist's job is to make as much art as possible. And I will continue to make art. I don't care if I have a record deal, if nobody ever freaking hears me, but the people I love and myself, that will be quite enough for me.
Yeah.
And if somebody else hears it and they're inspired by anything that I've written and said, and they connected, which I'm surprised when people actually do, then, oh my goodness, great.
Yeah.
Because you're not alone.
Yeah.
And I found out I'm not alone.
Yeah. And that's the key part, is when someone actually finds your stuff, right, and talk to you, it makes you, oddly enough, it makes you feel better that you're actually doing something that's beneficial.
Yeah.
So put back on your caregiver hat. For those that have ailing parents, that have ailing individuals, what are the things that you can say? Give me two things. We got we got about 2 minutes. Give me 2 things that you can give them to help uplift them in the choices that they're attempting to make on whether or not they're going to take that leap into caregiving.
2 things. If it's your parent, again, it's your turn.
Mm-hmm.
It's your turn to look out for them, give them as much care, if not more care, than they gave you, to make sure that their lives is full of quality, love, and caring. 2 is from some wisdom is don't take it personal, because
Right.
someone who you know as they're ailing, they may have attitudes or be upset, and though it is still distressing, again, I'm an
Yeah.
emotional person too, don't take it personal.
Yeah.
Don't take it personal at all, what you may be getting from them. They are struggling too, and
Automatically.
you have to help them. So those
Okay.
2 things.
Well, I appreciate you, coming down and joining me. And just like Brother Ray said, he will be a part of our organization at Mental and Emotional Wellness Centers of Ohio. So if you need some counseling, he'll be there. Hopefully, I can pour into him as much as he's poured into me today. So I appreciate your time, man. I really appreciate you coming out. I mean, being a caregiver is you're a caregiver of the community, you're a caregiver of clients, you're a caregiver of your DNA, of your lineage, of your ancestors, and I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. So if any, good, we got 30 seconds.
Shout out to Annie Tucker.
There
who's
you
my
go.
mother. I want to mention her name as we've mentioned her in
That's
in
right.
person and
That's
character,
right.
but I want to give a shout out to my mom, Annie Tucker.
All right. Well, next week we got Steph Kales coming back, and so she's gonna put me in line. And then, hey, if anybody out there listening and on YouTube, help me out here because my bit rate ain't right, and I keep dropping bits. So give me a call. But anyway, we're gonna get up out of here. This is Unapologetic on WOVU 95.9 FM. Peace.